I dedicate this to the poor of America, who are not poor because they are frail, but because they were the first to glimpse the machine from within. For more than a century, they have resisted through civil disobedience, the courage of whistleblowers, grassroots uprisings, union strikes, and an unyielding invocation of our Constitution. The true struggle was never right against left, it was always corporation against Constitution. Each time the people wrested a measure of freedom, the system adapted. Ever more insidious, it reclaimed ground under a series of prearranged coincidences. Following the script, deftly wielding a psychological campaign as sharp as a surgeon's implementation. When a system turns parasitic, it does not begin by destroying its enemies. It begins by deteriorating its host from the inside. And America became that host, and to the test lab. Here, the first floods of addictive pharmaceuticals spread. Here, minds were fractured by engineered identity wars. Here, debt was wielded as a weapon. Here, entertainment was sustained unto sedation. And here, punishment fell upon those who spoke up. Were Americans ever to waken fully, the machine will not be able to cope. Thus, the system fears no foreign power. What it trembles before is the rising of its own people. Americans, in truth, are a heroic people, but they were never told they had been living all along inside the dragon's mouth. What we now witness, the collective confusion over truth and falsehood, the epidemic of obesity, the collapse of trust, the churn of manufactured chaos, the measured poisoning of its people. This is not a fruit of failure by the people. It is evidence of a people systematically broken and then made to feel guilty and ashamed for it. It was not tyranny they authored. It was tyranny they endured. They were preemptively crippled and then paraded around so that the rest of the world would think we were united under their constant overseas campaigns. And thus arises the question, will the world mistake the American people for the tyrant? Can it not perceive that beneath the fury and the fragmentation and the aggrandized self-immolation sold to the world, there is a grief-stricken peoples mourning for the death of their sovereignty? For their social fabric and their inherent purpose have all been relegated to the delicate soul of a shell-shock victim. The question before us is not whether Americans will remember they're free. The question is whether they will remember that they were born to be. That's a mix of another gentleman's, and I added some things. I really don't know if he knew even how profound that last part was when he said that they were born to be. You know, the spirit of universal consciousness that's inside us all is him living vicariously through us all. We're all being watched, and we're gamblers, kinda. There's a lot invested in us. We're actually very special indeed. You see, every one of us is a possible soul that's being harvested to be used in a ritual to destroy the universe. By interfering with this power structure and instituting another demigod to stand beside and against him. And with this new power structure in place, they will have their God rend this universe apart from the very insides. Their fates are bound up into this. In the depths of another dimension, a place not merely elsewhere but otherwise, there exist beings of profound attunement to the laws of science and resonance. They prepared for the birth of a universe, not by accident, but by intention. In their tongue, this was the act more than a technical achievement. It was them completing the circle. Just how their universe was made, they now continue the path of infinite regression with the very thing that began their universe, the spark. The others whose intellect was woven with geometry and frequency, with precision and reverence, these dimensional scientists enacted the first great experiments that seeded our cosmos with a singular explosion. Not a chaotic burst, but a carefully engineered blooming within the boundaries of the machine that contained it. The spark was not merely light or fire, it was consciousness. And so began our universe as they watched the unfolding of creation as a master musician listens for the harmonious chords of a symphony's crescendo, not as infinitesimal fragments coalescing by chance, but as the slow motion flowering of energy, directed by unseen architects. Once the embers of the spark unfolded, the universe swelled with potential. Matter began to organize itself like dew forming on the edge of a leaf. Clouds of dust and quantum song condensed into swirling masses of light, each spinning, colliding, and merging, birthing stars in the first galaxies. These architects watched as spiral arms extended, as elliptical giants rounded themselves, as black holes marked the darkened hearts of growing galaxies where once the ember of the spark stood. The galaxies were not purely accidental, but neither were they guided. To this day, the story is ongoing. Every galaxy is host to millions and millions of stars somewhere beyond seen and unseen. The architects wait to see if we will pass the test. It's a mark of contention that if the universe that spawned you was able to actually overcome the parasitic infection and extinguish every scant one of them, that the universe will now get bigger than the allotted confines, and the entropy not happening will mean that they will surely will have an unchecked universe soon bisecting within their own. Interred within these pages, you're going to be exposed to a contrary version of our cosmology we have come to understand. I want you to understand that this version will equally explain what you're seeing, maybe more clear, and that should never happen. You shouldn't ever hear an equally, if not better, excuse to an understanding so widely accepted with the intelligence that we have around. No excuse for it. You shall see. I get my information from no man. I did all this myself with a clear mind on the situation. I'm Michael Edward Rose. I'm the prophet of the end. If you do like I tell you, that will be where it begins. I had the dream last year about this time, in September 2024. In the dream, I'm walking north in a flat land. The sun is on my left, above me by the way of the light on the land. I of a sudden look to my right, and I see a classic fireball about half the size of the atmosphere, or maybe 3 or 4 moons in height. I hardly had enough time to throw up my hands, and I'm returned to cinder. It, I believe, by the trajectory of the split second I seen it, it's threading our atmosphere. It does not collide with Earth, but judging on the sun and its trajectory, the sun is going to get creamed. The Aztecs were very much so sacrificed by the PR team. In their closeness, they were around to know some facts. There's a new sun with each humanity, and there is to be only 5 humanities. This is the 5th humanity. In 7 years, on December 22nd, 2032, at around 1, 2 Pacific Coast time, our civilization will come to an end for the 5th and final time. And in the immediate future, our universe will come to an end, thanks to our collective stupidity. You're on a planet called Vam Fem, in a region known as the Rings of Terra. In the very center of the North Pole diode, which is so large, its boundaries stretch beyond the 53,000 kilometers that is known as Earth. The land shown on the extended version of the Gleason map is only half of the planet. It's 4.5 million kilometers in circumference, and it is the largest thing in the solar system. It's 10.5 Jupiters large. That's why we can't see the curvature of the sphere, even though everything in space is round. And they're round because of pressure. We are beings that live and flourish under pressure. So are every other alien species, whether water or gas, be their respiration. Space is indeed a liquid plasma called ether. Things do not float in a vacuum. The reason they said it was a vacuum was to scare us, is because that is the very opposite of where we come from. Being pressurized beings, the complete void of atmosphere would cause us to expand like a sponge unscrunched in the hand, filling back out to its form. We're being held in at all times by pressure. It is what makes things fall faster or push down is because of pressure. You can tell you're in a pressurized system a couple of different ways. Besides the natural ear popping that happens when we change elevation, what is happening there is a new pressure quotient due to elevation. In a pressure system, gases level themselves out by weight. Our atmosphere is made up mainly of nitrogen. Nitrogen is lighter than oxygen, and is why K2 climbers must carry oxygen. They are entering into the next level of gases. When a drop of water falls in our atmosphere, it forms a sphere due to pressure. That's the same instance in space with the coalescing of the planets into balls of organic material. Every pressurized system known has a lid. Ours is the barrier known as the firmament. Imagine a water bag with an air bubble in it. That air bubble is our atmosphere, and the barrier of liquid is the firmament. This is why they shot 14 nukes at it in Operation Fishbowl, and it did nothing but irradiate our atmosphere. Every satellite is on balloons. Orbit, gravity, light year, astronaut are all just made up words that have no real definition being part of the grand deception. Speaking of, you may wonder why there is a great deception. I shall explain. The parasitic reptilians do not have a soul, but yet they feed metaphysically, as well as ingestions. And that's another clue, because most physical things do not feed off of energy. It's actually unheard of. What they feed off of is a certain type of energy that comes off the soul when the walker is under stress, pain, confusion, or panic. Those are two important clues. So without a soul, they're from a different dimension. Everything in this one has a soul, and they feed off of the soul, so it's not like a soul is an unknown thing. The third clue to where our ungracious hosts derive from lies in what they do. So what they are doing with the soul trap is harvesting powerful souls, like the kind that are from the source of all love and light, the consciousness of the universe, aka God. This is the reason for their deception and why their certain skill set is exclusive to these beings. They are well suited to deceive, and they have ruled over us for 64,000 years. Counting back by 12,800 years, it goes Younger Dryas, the Arctic Maximum, another short ice age, and then the Arizona impact craters. Lines up with this time scale, which shows how fly by night it was in the first reset. But if you go back only 12,800 more years from then, you get the Great Mind Expansion. That happened 64,000 years ago. 5 humanities in perfect order. Any renditions of beings here before then are covered under 200 meters of soil and debris anyway. You wouldn't know. So the cycle's like this. Spirit and soul go into the soul trap, called heaven. The soul and spirit are both zapped somehow, and they are separated. The spirit goes on to a location that it receives another soul, and they go over their contract. The soul will lie in wait until they have equaled the amount that God has on life. They depart from there to earth to get another body. When it's on earth, it is shown the bare modicum of an actual existence. This is why the charade. They've been ruling over us this entire time. The two things that they gave us that have held us down throughout time are currency and religion. They hold those two offices throughout Earth. The most powerful person on the planet is the Pope. So they have to get enough life. Well, they have to get you to lead a happy enough life so that it doesn't feel caged or under coerced duress or suppressed servitude. So that when you die, it is still imbued with the power it had when it was born from God. With that power is what they want. So they are harvesting powerful souls so that they can hold a metaphysical ritual. They intend on destroying the universe by way of instituting another demigod to stand beside him, or any of the other 35 different metaphysical laws that they can use to unravel our universe. Now I will tell you why they are destroying our universe. And I'm not wrong about this one bit. Our universe is somewhere in a different dimension, inside of a machine. We are a very small thing, and we are getting bigger inside of this machine. The incubator holds us in is finite, so at some point we will burst through the confines of our encasement and be a dimensional tear in their dimension that cannot be undone. As well, just like our universe is created, we have created a universe in this. Judging by the timeline of progression, we would already be within that procession. So we've created a universe, and in that universe, they will create one and on in concession with infinite regression. The ends of time stream will at some point merge and form the infinity ring at some point. So an unchecked universe growing inside of another will bisect it and reign supreme as the prime universe. If that universe that created this universe would have to be prime. And so, like a father's child growing up and succeeding him in stature and being, in a sense, refining the operandi of the instance, a father would want their son to be better off than they. Since you would have destroyed the entropy put forth by the creators of your universe, you would have earned their respect and would deserve to surely succeed them by being smart enough and vigilant enough to destroy the greatest evil of the prime universe's concoction. Then you would have earned the right to be the prime universe. Having bested such a difficult opponent, you were surely the better man and deserved of the honor. So the parasitic reptilians are the entropy sent forth by the prime universe to destroy the universe they have made. Before it bursts through the confines of their incubator and rend a dimensional tear that cannot be closed within their universe. Hold on. Let's check something out here. So, the gray aliens are not from here. They're not us from a parallel universe. They said that as a way to make themselves seem more approachable for what they're doing, to have some kind of sympathy for what they're doing. What makes me think this is their allusion to the 2012 Incan calendar. They say that a 5-degree change happened to their Earth, causing catastrophe. No. The moon is in complete control and will not slip out for any reason. Supposedly, they went into Earth and later Alpha Reticuli constellation, where they have messed with their DNA so much that they cannot produce offspring naturally. And this is irreversible, no matter what they do. And they're trying in vain and need to stop and go away, go underneath the porch, and die with some dignity. They have no good purpose. But considering the mantids, I'm thinking that this mantid species is with them is because they are master geneticists and have no compunction unless they are doing what they love. They're science storks. Well, I'll put you up on some cosmology here. The poles do not change places. What was seen in the alternating direction of the magma patterns was the Jabinnikov effect. That's when a sphere has 3 heavily weighted axis points inside of it, which causes it to flip over at a different time, depending on how they're set. Not different every time, but at a certain time every time. It could be every 200,000 years or every 500. We are far from the light of a natural star. I can't say much more than I feel to be true, but the Indian saga is not that long. They don't know. They think the ages were vast and ranging in scope. Nope. 64,000 years. That's us in this form as Lyrans on Habitat Earth. Just to reiterate, these all line up with the pattern of 12,800 years ago was the Younger Dryas. 12,800 before that was the Arctic maximum. 12,800 before that, another short ice age. 12,800 years. 12,800 years before that, we were created. 5 humanities of 5 humanities. There's not going to be another. Each humanity had its own sun. Right now, it's best to understand the Trinity. I have astral projected by accident. I was having a stroke and I left my body for 4 seconds. Just like the spirit and your soul are silent when you're on life. When I was in the astral plane, I was in the back seat, and he was in command, and the soul is just there, always there, connected to source and watching, I presume. They must maybe conversate. It was very bashful and innocent. If I remember, when you die, they have a myriad of obstacles that are set to make you trip up. If you do as I tell you, you will leave this plane of existence and move on to another star system. I pray there's nothing to see here. If you have achieved gnosis, what's good is that you reminded your spirit where it came from, and that the heaven deception is not the place to go. Then, when that time comes, you will avoid the light and return to source, meaning you have been cleansed of that past life's urges and wants, and you'll just be. And then so you will be able to incarnate into another being on a faraway place, mastering death. And with your retained knowledge, you will begin this new life ahead of the game and well upon your ascension. For your new body that you'll be going into will naturally be of a higher density. We have been downsized each new humanity that was released through genetic code manipulation. We've carried the metaphysical scarring throughout by our spirit. When it got into the hovel with me, we made quite a plan. I had to say it was played to perfection, only I wish that I wouldn't have been so caught up with stuff. But then again, I needed to learn some things. I can only imagine the people who were meant to do something like I've done, and for one or another reason, just got busy. And then maybe had their life tossed around by the industrial grinder that goes up and down on our futures for fun. Now's the time to turn that around. No more stubbornness or inability to detect truth from fiction. I'll give you a pretty good life hack for humans on Earth right now. If you're told something happened by the government, it was the exact opposite. Every time. You'll see. With the understanding you've gained in this life, the humility will carry you far. Understanding and love rule yin, and confusion and hate be the yang. The rule of two. The middle ground is best. Lean very heavy towards the light and only step out of bounds when you know you're in the right. Then show them that you've been practicing. This book is not written as fiction, though you may treat it as such to your own folly. It is a record of what I have seen, what I have been shown, and what I believe must be faced. By reading these words, you are invoking something within yourself more ancient than current theologies can connect. You are calling upon your spirit and your soul to elevate your frequency, and in doing so, awaken the living Merkaba so that you may open up wide and receive exactly what the fuck I'm trying to tell your stupid ass. Know this. Your spirit and your soul are not the same. The spirit is the witness, carrying your scars and your story. The soul is you, unfettered, eternal, and free. As you move through the tome of the Forgotten Order, I invoke both to rise alongside you to guide your understanding with an open mind and a clear heart.